The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
Hello and welcome to Talking Truth to Power. We are coming to you live from the America Matters Media Studio here in Reno Town Mall. And I'm happy to be joined live by my co-hosts. We have Brendan Trainor back from assignment and Leland Faegre visiting us again from beautiful South Lake Tahoe. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you this morning?
I was also on assignment.
We're always on assignment, right? We sort of all are, I guess.
That's right.
Well, welcome back, Brendan. It's good to have you back, and we enjoyed your dispatches from overseas.
Well, thank you. Yes, I know. Truly, I was on assignment. Yes.
The satellite didn't cooperate all that well for you.
No.
Yes, you were far astray.
In and out, kind of blurry, pixely.
And yes, so we have lots, as usual, lots to talk about. There's so much going on in the news. It is October 26th, beautiful fall day here in the Truckee Meadows. And I wanted to, there's lots of news, wanted to talk about there was an arrest in the packages, the suspicious packages that have been sent to the liberal leaders. We wanted to talk about that.
The fake bombs.
We wanted to talk about the migrant caravan. We got elections coming up, the Khashoggi murder. But I also wanted to hear about that night train to Moscow.
I'm writing a song about it right
Yes. Yeah, it wasn't a midnight train. It left about 8:30, but I went from Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, to Moscow by train. Mm-hmm. And I don't recommend it for comfort-loving Americans.
So it's what, pretty sparse? Just kind
yes,
of
it was
utilitarian.
And I had a first-class ticket, but all that means is you have one roommate.
Oh.
There's no other amenities.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so you're in a small bunk about 2 or 3 feet wide, and and you've got the wheels rattling under you all night.
Now, how does that compare with American train travel?
I don't know. I have never taken a train except to the Long Island Railroad when I lived in New York, which is a commuter train, and I went to Sacramento a couple of times on that beautiful route. But other than that, I haven't taken the train much in America.
I wouldn't really know either, actually.
Yeah.
But,
and the Russians, I don't think, are really all that fond of trains. People don't realize that Russia doesn't have all that many roads compared to other countries, and train is the main transport through a lot of Russia. And that's one of the reasons why Putin cut back on the military for infrastructure purposes, and the Russian people are really asking for more good roads.
Oh, wow.
That's how the interstate highway system came into existence here in this country under Eisenhower. Was he wanted to be able to move and mobilize military across state lines.
Yeah, but as far as the military goes, these trains are good for Russia because they're easy to hide, and Russia has missiles that can actually lift up out of a boxcar.
Oh, wow.
So you wouldn't know which train had the missiles. and so they are very good for military purposes, just like they are in Iran and all these other semi-developed countries.
Right.
But yeah, but it like I said, it took 10 hours. They asked
10 hours from Kiev to Moscow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they asked for my passport twice, but I was really surprised for such a country that's supposed to be so autocratic and dictatorial. There was really not that much security.
In Russia?
Yeah, at all.
Okay.
Even when I went to the airport, because I flew from SVO when my stay in Moscow was up, to go back to Budapest, because that's where my plane was. Initially I landed in Budapest. And when you go into the Russian airport, you put your bags as soon as you go in the doors, you put your bags through a metal screener, just a simple metal screener, but they don't ask anything about you. You just walk to the other side and pick up your bags. And then you go to, when you go to the ticket counter, there was another metal screener, only this time they asked you to empty your pockets. Mm-hmm. And then when you finally go to the gate, then it's a little more intrusive, but you have to put your stuff through there, and walk through a metal screener. And then they had a lady on the other side, and she just gave me a gentle tap down, no crotch feelings, She didn't ask to feel my package or anything. She didn't even get down and do the underneath the thigh pat down, just a simple pat down. And that was it.
So that was customs?
Yeah, that was, no, to get on a plane.
Okay, so you were coming from...
Yeah, I flew into Budapest, and then I flew out of Budapest to come back to the States.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so I was on Aeroflot Airlines from Moscow to Budapest.
Right. Wow.
And you know, there really isn't that, like I said, it's, you know, Americans have this, a lot of Americans have a very poor conception of Russia. And it is, you know, it is for example, marijuana is not legal there at all. And I understand it's supposed to be, for a very small amount, less than 7 grams, it's supposed to be an administrative offense, but what I've read is if you happen to be unlucky enough to be caught about it, you can expect to pay a stiff bribe to get away from, you know. Yeah, and there is corruption there, there's no doubt.
So you're saying that there's a 2-tiered legal system in Russia? Is that what you're saying, Brian?
Yeah, I guess so. Huh. You know, all of these Central Eastern European countries are pretty corrupt. Romania, Moldova.
They're openly corrupt.
Let's put it that way. In our country, we're corrupt, but you have
quite so obvious.
You have to do a Freedom of Information Act to find out how corrupt they are.
Where do you think you ran into the most stringent security, where you felt the most violated or intruded upon?
Well, Hungary is similar to ours. Where I had to pull the laptop out, take my belt off. I was wearing baggy pants. They fell down to my ankles.
Right. Well, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's not baggy. That's not well fitted.
Yeah. And then, you know, so that's it. And as far as I had experiences in all the countries. I have a feeling for Ukraine because they're really pawns in the Game of Thrones that we're playing with Russia.
Why aren't they?
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And but I came across some good people. I stayed in the Hotel Ukrainia, which is right across from the Maidan. Which is the square where the coup took place in 2014.
The CIA-sponsored coup.
Yes, exactly. And so they had the memorials to they called them the 100 Heavenly Martyrs, I believe it was. And like in Slavic countries, they had pictures, and then people leave flowers. And then they had state monuments to them around the Maidan. But, you know, I just kept thinking to myself, you know, these poor people, they think that you know, that it was evil people that did it, but they don't realize their own government was behind it, you know?
Right. As unfortunately is the case with, you know, the story is deeper so often with those kind of incidents.
Yeah.
Certainly with Ukraine. And there's lots more to talk about. This is Talking Truth to Power. It is October 26th. We will be back right after the break.
Hey everyone, Dave Escher here introducing you to our new store, the Nevada Marketplace, in the Toledo Center.
Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a loaded broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link.
Hello and welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. My name is Brendan Trainor. I'm co-host of our show. We are Reno's Freedom Talk Radio, and we're on the air every Friday from 9 to 10 a.m. on 1180 a.m. America Matters Media, and we stream worldwide to all 4 billion people on the internet to www.americamatters.us. And I'm here with my co-host Jennifer Green and Leland Faegre. And if you want to continue just a little bit more, we were talking about how lax and unautocratic Russia is, at least on the surface, and how the Ukraine, unfortunately, is a pawn in the game between the world powers, Russia and America. And the EU, and there's still talk about bringing it into NATO, which would be right on Russia's border. And while I was there, you know, there are people being killed daily about 500 miles from the capital where I was in Kiev, in the Donbass region. There's supposed to be a ceasefire, but it's not being held, and they're being shelled. And then Hungary is also interesting. While I was there, they repatriated a lot of gold. They increased their gold reserves in Hungary by 10,000% while I was there, and they brought it all within the country.
Wow. So, how flattering that must have been for you to, on your behalf.
Yeah. I wish I was on that gold train. But Hungary is an interesting country too. I mean, it's a wellness country. They have enormous geothermal resources, and they have spas that you can go to all over the place. Wellness is a big industry there. To go and get in their baths and so on. They go back to Roman times. And when I was a kid, I collected stamps, and I always wondered who these Magyars were.
Now you know.
Yeah, now I know. I was over there.
Well, and Brendan brought us back samples of the currency from the three countries too. That's very interesting. So you had, tell us the difference between the U.S. dollar versus the currencies.
The forint in Hungary, now they accept euros in Hungary. They accept euros in all the country, because all of these countries, and they probably take dollars, but I didn't try to do that. But the forint is the currency in Hungary, and one reason why they brought this gold back is that even though they're in the European Union, although that may not even last long, because Orban is a thorn in the side because he refuses to take in Muslim immigrants, but they're not part of the European Central Bank system. They're independent there. So, but the forint is the least valuable of the currencies. I mean, I had, when I went over there, I had 98,000 forints, which came to about $200 US.
That's incredible.
Yes.
How much did you bring to us this morning? That's what I want to know.
I think it came to about $100.
Didn't take a long time to count it, I noticed that.
There's like show and tell in here. You have separate files for us to look at. Ukrainian, Hungarian, and Russian currency. Very interesting.
Yes.
What was the coolest thing that you saw when you were over there?
Well, the coolest thing was Moscow itself, because I lived in New York City for a while. I was born in New York. I brought up mostly on Long Island, but living in Reno for most of the last 20 years or more. It's just 9 million people in Moscow, and it's just the size of it, the traffic jams at night.
Like a village then.
Yeah, it's like a village, exactly.
Wow.
And of course the Kremlin, the Red Square, and like I was saying during the break, I think it was that the ACLU would be very upset in these countries, because there's so much religious history, and so many churches, and so many statues of religious personalities in the public square. It's something that is just not heard of in America. We couldn't do that here.
Right.
Yeah, there's like Saint Olga, who was the first Christian queen of the Kievan Rus, who were...
I knew that.
Yeah. They were the Vikings. We have the show The Vikings here, but it's about the Danes or Norwegian Western Vikings, but the Kievan Rus came down the eastern rivers from Sweden and Finland.
There you go.
And they began the Kiev was the first capital of Russia, and the king, her grandson, Olga's grandson, was the first Christian king who made Orthodox Christianity the state religion among the Rus.
So he's the first convert to Christianity?
Well, she was a convert, but she didn't force it upon her kingdom. But he made it the official religion. And even though I was told that he had dozens of wives and hundreds of kids or whatever.
He was the king.
Yes, but the Orthodox Church makes these people saints. So he's Saint Vladimir. And that's how Vladimir Putin got his name, I suppose.
Well, now I hope everyone out there is taking notes. There's going to be a pop quiz, a history lesson here.
But in the Ukraine, like Saint Michael the Archangel is the protector of the Ukraine, and the legend is that Saint Andrew the Apostle founded the Ukraine. I mean, we just don't have that deep of a religious sensibility in this country that they have over there.
Definitely not. I think, in fact, the people who founded this country were trying to get away from that.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
for good reason.
Very interesting. All right. Well, I appreciate your report.
Okay.
It's been fun, and now shall we dig into the news? There's lots to talk about going on in the world today.
Probably never asked.
Right. Leland is following live stream over here. What's going on with these suspicious packages? They just arrested a someone in connection with this, a white 56-year-old male in a van.
I'm shocked. Absolutely shocked. And of course there's Trump imagery and symbolism all over the van, the exterior.
He's got a van that's probably got dark tinted windows. What do you want to bet? Are you looking at a picture of it?
Yeah, we can see it here. It's from an angle that doesn't really do it justice. I'd like to see it from the street level, but it is there. Pretty interesting looking thing. You would notice it if it was on the road.
Yes, okay, and it's covered with pro-Trump stickers and probably anti-Hillary stickers.
There's no doubt about where he stood with the President of the United States. No question about that.
So what's your take on this?
If there's any legitimacy to the claim of it being a false flag operation, which is every bit believable and conceivable in this day and age, I mean, you could make the case that the same people that brought us Christine Blasey Ford brought us this guy. You know, it could be easily an intelligence operation as an opportunity for the left to change direction, because the early voting and all indications so far during this, we're down to the last 11 days now, reveal that there is no blue wave.
It is. I don't know, I have a hard time taking this story that seriously. It doesn't seem that scary, and these packages, I don't know. It does seem like a very convenient talking point, and the media is super, freaked out for hyping up this story, and I don't know, it's just, I have a hard time taking this seriously.
Well, in relation to Christine Ballsy Fraud,
you're getting that from Rush Limbaugh.
The DNC has just announced that they've hired an investigator to get to the bottom of what happened, and he'll be making his first report from the backlinks at the Las Vegas Country Club, and is expected to give his final report from the 50-yard line at the Super Bowl, and of course his name is O.J. Simpson, so...
I don't know, I think maybe the Russians did it.
Yes.
Well, believe it or not, is that your own?
No.
You saw where it came from.
And Brendan was telling me about it, yes.
I mean, unbelievable. They've gone full circle now.
I bet it was those Russians.
Yeah.
Yes, I was telling that Chuck Todd, the head of the host on Meet the Press and on MSNBC, it didn't take long, about the next day after it first happened, he says, I think this is a Russian operation. And they said, why? Well, to sow discord.
Every single episode we've been witnessing over the last several weeks has bounced off. There's been no legitimacy to them at all. They're embarrassing themselves. Remember when there was a time you could actually look at the mainstream media? You might not consider it to be a legitimate source of information, but at least you'd go there for a main story or something like that. You can't even do that anymore.
No, I mean, it used to be that you could rely on them to at least report the weather accurately.
Something.
And then with the recent hurricanes, and we saw how they were faking how bad the wind actually was and standing in puddles.
Yeah, they made that up as well.
See, they can't even report
the weather, honestly. Did you see the picture of the image of the woman with the sign at a political rally in Florida the other night? I think it was Wednesday night, actually, and it said, "Fake news, fake bombs."
I did not see that.
See, so there was an immediate distrust of the story.
Right, absolutely.
And that is endemic now. I think the American people can see through this nonsense, and that's why they're so frustrated about, a lackluster or meaningless campaign. They have nothing really to run on except the illegals.
Right.
And they're not getting up. They're not getting up here.
No.
Hillary for prison.
Yeah, the American people are very frustrated, and this in Nevada, this SJ whatever it is 146 that would allow county commissioners to raise property taxes. I've gotten a lot of feedback on that. People are very upset about that, and they understand that their money is not going to what it should be going to, which is the education of their children. And
it doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to matter what we do in the state. We don't manage to get the education money to the kids. It always ends up somewhere else.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it gets earmarked to the general fund, from what I've seen, and then it goes wherever they want it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that kind of money is fungible, and so they can just take it and spend it wherever they want to. It's a very, very, it allows for patronism, the tool at which politicians keep electing themselves by using their money, their own money.
Well, thank God Social Security has a lockbox.
Oh, right. Exactly.
That's a great point, Brendan.
This is the truth. All right. This is Talking Truth to Power. Lots more to discuss. We'll be back right after the break. Stay with us.
Do you need high-quality estate planning and family law?
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I'm Jennifer Green, joined here in the studio by Brendan Trainor and Leland Faegre.
Boy, look at those phones light up.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, appreciate that little lead-in, because I'm always forgetting to give out the call-in number, so appreciate that. And also, before we get back to our conversation, I'd like to give a shout-out to our sponsor. Reno Computer Services is a locally owned and operated computer business. They do any kind of servicing you need for your information technology setup. Your computer's having problems or it needs to be backed up, fixed, anything going on with it from small problems to big problems, they can help you out with that. That's Reno Computer Services. You can find them online at renocomputerservices.com. You can also give them a call, 775-737-4400. Again, that's Reno Computer Services. And you can find them online at renocomputerservices.com.
Will they defrag the drive?
I'm sure they will. I don't know exactly what that even means, but I'm sure they will.
Speed up your experience?
Yeah, well, they could give it a try.
Where are they located, by the way?
They are right in Reno on Midtown area, 500 Ryland Street, Suite 100.
So not far from here.
No, just down the street. And like I said, we greatly appreciate their sponsorship. Okay, so like I said, at the top of the hour, there's lots to talk about. Let's maybe take a swing at the migrant caravan situation that has been growing in the media. We heard reports of 7,000 to 10,000 to 20,000 people on their way. Now they're saying it's about 3,000.
Yeah, it's been apparently exaggerated, and by all of the embedded journalism that's come out of there, the suggestion is that a lot of them are dropping like flies. It's not it can't be fun,
No.
and to the extent that there are children there, which apparently has also been exaggerated. Most of them are adult men, apparently. That makes it a little easier, but we're still talking about 2 or 3 weeks, and apparently they're not up to it, and so they're dropping like flies.
And there's discussions that they're going to be seeking asylum from violence in their home country. There's been talk about deploying troops on the border. Brendan, what's your take on this?
Well, you know, I hate to use the word open borders because I'm not for open borders. There has to be controls, but I think as a classical liberal that Judge Napolitano had an article that he put out just a day or two ago, and he indicated what I've talked about before, that the Constitution does not give the federal government the monopoly power over immigration. And I think it should be federalized, and I think furthermore that it should be privatized to a large extent, as much as we can, because as a classical liberal, we know that politics divides and freedom unites.
Well, I think he's wrong about that. I think Napolitano is incorrect about that. Article 1, Section 8 does define immigration and border control to the federal government, not to the states.
Just as naturalization.
So you're taking Moonbeam Brown's position then?
I don't know about Moonbeam Brown.
Well, that's the contention as they move towards sanctuary state status, is that is a federalist or a federal role for the states to have. And Article 1, Section 8, I believe, does not permit that at all.
And no, it says that the federal government has the power to set rules for naturalization.
Article 4, Section 4 precludes or permits the states and the federal government to have control over these kinds of things, which is invasions.
This is not an invasion.
Of course it is an invasion.
People coming to work are not invading.
We're just getting started.
It's not an invasion.
It's an invasion that's in slow-mo.
It's not an invasion.
Well, this is a good conversation to be having here, because I can kind of see both sides, but I don't feel like this is just people seeking asylum. When they're marching, the way they're marching with flags and tearing down fences and saying, we are coming whether they want us or not. I feel like it's a political thing. They're trying to make a point, and I don't think this is just innocent people looking for asylum. There's more to this story.
They've revealed their intention to violate federal law.
That is
true. And they're not even here.
That is true.
Well,
so, I mean,
as soon as you put 1 foot on federal soil, you have the right to seek asylum. Now,
yes.
They say you have to go to certain points to do it. but you know, what they call border entry ports, but that's not really, I mean, the point is, as soon as you get to American soil, you have the right to apply for asylum. And the federal government is, they are identifying asylum extremely narrowly, meaning government prosecution. Like if the state police are putting you in prison, that then you can require asylum. But if the federal government that you're in the country you're coming from is not enforcing the laws, and you're being raped and pillaged by gangs that have ties perhaps to the government, they're paramilitary gangs and so on, then you have a case for asylum.
Yeah, but how are they going to prove that, Brendan? How are these individuals going to prove that, make that case?
Well,
If you let these people in, it's going to be in the courts for years. It never ends. You just can't. You can't go willy-nilly down this road without recognizing that this is an assault on the country's sovereignty. If you don't have borders, you don't have a culture, you don't have a language.
Yes, and it's mostly cultural. I mean, people say it's economic, but that's been disproven over and over again. Immigration does not have a deleterious effect on economics. They do, despite Steve Saylor and the alt-right, they do mostly take jobs that Americans don't want, and they do have an impact by allowing Americans to get better jobs, freeing up labor supply.
This has been the argument by Republicans and Democrats for years, which is why we've come to this subject.
Yeah, and the Congress has not done what it can do because it's incapable of doing it.
Because Democrats want the cheap votes and the Republicans want the cheap labor. And that's what this is all about.
Okay, but is your solution then to exclude everyone or to try?
Do you want these people voting?
I don't care if they vote or not.
Well,
why should you care?
I don't want half the Americans I run across on a day-by-day basis to vote.
But that's a different issue.
No, it's the same issue.
No,
they're
if
not.
The Republicans could come up with a way to convince people that freedom works, which they have not been able to do, then they would vote Republican.
Well, I think part of the issue here as well is that immigration is one thing, but coming here illegally is another question. So it's one thing to support legal immigration, people who want to come here to become Americans and become part of our system and vote. I welcome those people with open arms. And I mean, I have friends who just became citizens, and I think that is fantastic. And regardless of their politics, I want them to be voting. But I have a problem with people who come here illegally and take advantage of our systems. We have incentivized illegal immigration in this country.
And because we have centralized control, a top-down system that...
a welfare state.
A welfare state.
Yes.
Yeah, but why don't we dismantle the welfare state?
Because
the Republicans don't have the guts to dismantle the welfare state.
But so in the meantime, you can't allow this to continue until we can get the dismantlement of the welfare state.
Why? Why can't you?
Because it will be overrun.
We're not going to be overrun.
We're already overrun. There's over 30 million of these people here already.
Wait a minute, that figure is in
No,
dispute.
that figure is not in dispute.
It is.
It has been openly discussed recently that it is probably over 30 million because it goes back several decades. They've downplayed the significance of those who have come up here illegally because, for the reasons we just discussed.
And how many people are in the country, even if I grant your figure, which I don't?
How many in total?
In total.
I just told you that.
No, of people in the country.
Including citizens, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, you're going to look at it in percentage context?
Yeah.
No, that's a ridiculous way to look at it.
Well,
If you register these people to vote, it's all over.
Most of them are in California, Texas, and other countries. They're not dispersed throughout the system.
You can't let these people vote, Brendan. It's just, it's suicide.
It's not suicide.
No,
You
it's
have
not
to
suicide.
fashion. You have to have competition and fashion your message.
Then you're taking a Democratic position. You're taking the position of the Democrat Party.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Because I'm a libertarian and I think the Democrats are right in some things and the Republicans are right in other
And how are the libertarians doing these days?
We've never been able to do anything because we can't get on the ballot.
You bet. That is a very, very difficult hurdle
Yeah, we
for
can't
them.
get into
But
debate.
that's not the biggest problem.
There's a Libertarian Party candidate in this state for Senate who has never gotten less than 3% of the vote in any statewide race. He's not in any of the polls.
Gentlemen, please, speak of the furniture.
They have imploded their own party. After Baton Rouge, we haven't had a legitimate candidate for president, and it won't be one this time either, because we don't have any Harry Browns anymore. They're gone. They're not there.
Well, I'm gonna roll it back a little bit from the discussion of the demise of the Libertarian Party. Let's go back to the immigration issue, because I think that there's legitimate concern about what about the illegal people voting, and I don't understand. This is something I don't get, is how did these people even get sample ballots and get on the voter rolls? That should not be happening.
Because only 4 states require documentation to register to vote.
Right.
Only 4 states of the 50.
And that, I think, is something that is fixable.
And
it is not a racial issue.
No, but look, in California, they're already going to vote for local board of education issues.
Right, and I do think that is a concern. I would be concerned about that regardless of where these people were coming from. If we had a bunch of Canadians coming over the border, we need to be concerned about who's voting.
There are at least 50,000 illegal Irish in Boston.
Well, and I know that. Yeah, I think that the illegal number is going to be hard to quantify, just because these people tend to try to fly under the radar as much as possible.
I got an idea. We should encourage them to go to Puerto Rico.
Well,
Puerto Rico is bleeding people.
That's
They're all
true.
moving to Florida.
We need to have some welfare
They're
programs.
Spanish speaking, and we should give them a visa to go to Puerto Rico and say, start your new life there.
I'd be fine with that.
Well, and this is an interesting question, and we'll see where this goes. They're talking about calling up troops to put on the border. I don't know if this whole story is going to fizzle out. I do not. I kind of tend to think that there's a lot of fear of the immigrants. There's, in this story, a lot of the right wing tends to have a lot of fear of immigrants, and I think that's playing into
They
this.
always have. The Know Nothing Party was a Republican party. And the Democrats in the 19th century welcomed immigrants, but the Democrats were also the conservative party, the classical liberal party. They didn't give them welfare, they gave them jobs, but not welfare.
All right, well
it wasn't an issue until we had the welfare state.
This is true. I think that's probably the root of the problem. This is Talking Truth to Power. Good discussion. We'll be back. One more segment right after the break.
Has the healthcare nightmare got you feeling sick and tired? Contact Family Nurse.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266.
Welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. We've had some great discussion on the air today talking about the immigrant problem situation, and I think that we've solved it. So there's two that we solved it. We are solving the world's problems here.
You know how to approach it, yes.
So on Talking Truth to Power, we're fixing things, right?
And don't be shy.
That's right, don't be shy. So our two-pronged approach, we're going to eliminate the welfare state. That's our first step. So we're going to de-incentivize immigration, and then going to only allow citizens to vote. So we need to have checks in place to make sure illegal immigrants are not voting.
Privatize everything.
And the first will take care of the second.
Yes, and so the second, making sure only citizens vote, is to take care of problems immediately, and then the long-term solution is to eliminate the welfare state. I think that's great.
Also get rid of the drug war and stop interfering with the elections down there and making sure that right-wingers get into power.
Brendan, only Russians interfere with elections. Didn't you know that?
Yeah,
That's what the Russians do. Nobody else does that.
Nobody else does that.
Yes. All right. So good discussion, and we'll see what goes on with this invasion, quote-unquote invasion, coming up from Mexico. Well, not from Mexico, but I think they're mostly in Mexico now. So we'll see what happens. We'll continue to follow that story. And this segues nicely into, yes, we have elections coming up. They are ongoing, actually. Early voting has started. I keep getting phone messages. I'm getting called and texted to go and vote. So I get it. Don't worry, I'm not going to forget to vote.
I got a call a couple of days ago, and it was clearly from the Rosen count. And it was designed to see how firm my support for Lassalt was. The questions went in that direction. In other words, they brought out, he's fuzzy, he's wobbly.
Right.
Which I can see. Yeah.
You mean Heller?
No, maybe that's right, Heller.
Yeah.
I conceded that he is wobbly and all that, but the alternative is worse. So this is one of those examples where the libertarian on the ticket, which I used to be on the ticket, I used to be one of those libertarians. I can't vote for myself this time because because I can't let her take control of my life.
Right. I hear you.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have the same feeling about Dean. I mean, disappointed in him sometimes, but he is definitely marginally, maybe more than marginally better than having another absolute neocon put into the Senate.
And that's where they were going with the questioning on the call, so I let her know that that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
We need another spineless senator.
Right.
Yeah, more of those, please.
Yeah, finger to the wind politician. The senator's finals, yes. And then also, so that race is, I think it's pretty close. From the polls I've seen, it's within the margin of error. Heller has a slight lead, but within the margin of error.
Actually, he's pulling away now.
Is he starting to pull
Yeah, the last numbers across the country, actually, in all of these major contested seats, are leaning Republican to a greater number. And this is what I thought we would see as we got closer. There's no blue wave. It's just a fantasy on the part of the left.
I wonder if it's true that the situation with the Supreme Court Kavanaugh, if that galvanized.
I think it did, yeah. But now there's the caravan.
Right. And the bomb.
And the bomb.
So, you know, you can choose to get galvanized.
I mean, every one of those targeted people are people I detest.
Yes, they are. Yes,
and real patriotic Americans, when they heard that a bomb went to John Brennan, while they didn't want anything to happen to Brennan, they clearly were excited about the fact that he was
the nicer guy.
Yeah, I mean, this guy voted for Gus Hall in 1976. He voted for a communist in 1976. How did he ever get to the top of the intelligence apparatus?
And you know, Spartacus Cory Booker has been accused by a gay man of sexually assaulting him in the past.
Yeah, I saw that story, yeah. But it died quickly.
Hashtag me too,
yeah,
right
I
there.
know, because they're not going to promote that.
They don't want to go down that road, but
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
Roman Pharaoh fell asleep at his typewriter over that.
Yes, so it's going to be a very interesting election. I think that the governor race is very tight here as well. I've heard some really nasty hit pieces coming out on both sides on that one. Steve Sisolak versus Adam Laxalt.
Oh, isn't he a piece of work, though?
Oh, he is.
Oh, my God.
He is, and the Republican ads are definitely focusing on his penchant for raising taxes all over the place.
There's no tax he won't sign on to.
No, he sort of said that. He said all taxes are on the table, and also very much not a proponent of the Second Amendment.
No?
No. Or definitely in the pocket of the teachers' union.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, he's everything that we can't afford.
Yep.
Yeah, he is. So we just actually sort of sounded like a Laxalt campaign ad right there.
Even by default.
We did.
And just by default. I mean,
they just put out one where 3 people were discussing the race. We just sounded like that. That's hilarious. So what else do we want to touch on? We've got 6 more minutes on the air. The only thing we haven't talked about is the Khashoggi murder.
Right.
And do we want to kind of dig into that? I think you, Brendan?
Yeah. The Khashoggi murder is turning into a real, again, House of Game of Thrones situation between the House of Saud and the House of Thani. And Thani is the king of Qatar.
Okay.
And you remember that Saud and the United Emirates, they have a boycott on Qatar. They're not letting planes and ships in.
Right.
And Erdogan in Turkey is in financial trouble due to corruption, construction corruption. He, like Trump, he comes from a construction background. His country is in bad financial straits. Qatar has given him billions of dollars to try and prop him up there. And so it's also between the Wahhabis, you know, the fundamentalist religion of Saudi Arabia, and the Muslim Brotherhood.
yes, that's exactly what it comes down to.
Yes, exactly.
I'm suspicious of the Turks' involvement in this whole situation.
Well,
I don't know. I feel like
I do too. I think he's choosing to rehabilitate his own image after recent events at their expense.
Yes, at the very least, the Turkish Prime Minister Erdogan is taking great advantage of the situation and making himself look like a great guy.
he wants the money.
Yes.
You know, it's not so much justice for Mr. Khashoggi, it's
Correct.
the money. He wants Saudi Arabia to pay through the nose.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And is there video of this? And is there audio of this? I mean, the thing was wired with cameras. It seems reasonable that they do have everything they claim that they have.